everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome back to another week of soap making. Today we are on to a new month and this month is all about dessert. My daughter's favourite dessert at the moment is chocolate cream pie, but not any chocolate cream pie. It has to be the one that her auntie makes her. Apparently the one that I make for her is just not the same. Well, today I'm going to be making her chocolate cream pie in soap form. Hopefully she'll try using this instead of eating it, but you never know with my child. So I'm going to start out this soap the same way as I do every soap, and I've added my lye water solution into my oils. They're both at about 100 degrees and I am mixing those with my spatula to bring them to emulsification. I like to do this rather than using my stick blender because my oils are about 60% hard oils and they do come to trace very quickly. So using my spatula rather than stick blender gives me plenty of time to work with my soap. I'm going to split off about a third of my batter here into a separate container to make the first part of my soap. It's a little bit more than I wanted, so I'm tipping a little bit back in. And I'm going to colour the larger part of my soap with cocoa powder for a nice rich chocolatey colour. And the lower part of my soap is going to form the graham cracker crust of this chocolate cream pie. And to achieve that colour I'm going to use this orange peel powder, which gives a nice orangey colour, and then I am going to deepen it a little bit later with some cocoa powder to make it more of a crust colour. The essential oil blend that I'm using today is a blend of bergamot, grapefruit, lemongrass with a little bit of peppermint. So it's a really nice fruity, sweet blend with just a hint of freshness from that peppermint. And I'm going to mix the orange powder in with my spatula to make sure I've got enough of that powder in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my spatula to bring this to a thick trace. Now this soap batter was behaving very well for me and it took a little while to come to trace. I decided that it was a little bit too orange, so I added a little bit more cocoa powder to this mix and then carried on using my stick blender. I did stick blend it for quite some time and then decided to leave it for about 5-10 minutes to set up a little bit more. I've brought my soap molds back in here and it's time to pour that first layer in. So I'm splitting my batter evenly between the two layers. Now while my soap sets up a little bit, I am going to move it around the mold because I want this crust to coat the bottom of the mold and the sides in a fairly even coating. So I do need to leave this crust to set up pretty firmly so that the sides will stay on the side of the mold. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to keep moving it around the mold and bringing up the sides of the mold until I get the consistency that I'm looking for. Alright, this soap is still pretty fluid, so I'm going to leave it for a little while to set up before I try doing that again. And I'm going to work on the middle layer of this soap. I am doing an extra portion to this soap, so I have my lye water solution and my oils again right at about 95 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and pour my lye water solution into my oils and stir those with my spatula. Now this little bit of soap here is going to be the middle layer for my soap. I'm also making some embeds for the top of this soap and the top of next week's soap. So I'm going to pour off about a third of this soap to make my embeds, and I've split that in half. I'm adding some rose KAOLIN clay and some paprika to one section of this soap that I'm going to work with now to form a nice reddish pink tone. And that's what I'm going to use to make the embeds. Now that that's mixed in, I'm happy with the colour, so I'm going to use my stick blender once again to bring that to a medium to thick trace. Once the soap has set up enough, I'm going to pour the soap into my molds. And the soap on the left, the teal colored one, is one that I made myself by molding some silicone around some raspberries. So I'm pouring those in to get my raspberries for the top of the chocolate cream pie. And the mold on the right, the grey colored one, is my strawberry mold that I'll be using for a soap later on this month. Right, moving back to the rest of the soap that I just made, I'm going to add some zinc oxide into this to get a nice white creamy colour. And I'm going to add a little bit of my essential oils. And then go ahead and mix that in and bring it to a medium to thick trace once again with my stick blender. Now this essential oil blend really slowed down the trace of this soap, which was great. It gave me plenty of time to work with it and plenty of time in between the layers to get some other jobs done for this soap, like making the embeds for the top for tomorrow. You can see that my crust layer has set up nicely and I managed to coat the sides of the mold. It does look a bit like peanut butter at the moment, but that is going to deepen up as the soap cures and look more like a crust. I'm splitting the white soap between the two molds and I'm just going to leave that as a flat surface. Now I know traditionally most chocolate cream pies, the chocolate goes on the bottom and the cream goes on top. Not the way my child likes it, so today the soap that I'm making is made the way that she likes it. Alright, we're working on that chocolate layer for the top now, and back to the main bucket of soap I have, which I added the cocoa powder into previously, and I'm going to bring that to a thick trace with my stick blender and then divide the batter evenly between my two molds. I'm using my spatula here to get right down to the soap layer to break the fall of the chocolate colored soap so that it doesn't break through into the cream layer. You can see with that nice thick crust, my spatula only just fits down into my mold now. Alright, my soap was giving me lots and lots of time to work with it, so I waited for about 10 minutes for it to set up a little bit more and came back to add some more onto the top. The top of this soap is going to be domed right on the top, and so I need to wait for the soap to set up sufficiently to support itself. I'm just adding a little bit of soap at a time onto the top of each of my loaves until I build up all of the soap. Now once again I let the soap set up for about 10 minutes and I'm going to come in with my spatula and move the chocolate coloured soap away from the edges of the mould and into the centre and start shaping the top of this soap into the dome shape that I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my soap on top, and as the soap sets up and stays where I put it, I will shape the top and texture it. Alright, it is the next day and it's time to cut this soap. I'm so excited to see what the inside of this looks like and how that graham cracker crust has turned out. So I'm going to pull down the top of my multi-bar cutter and remove those two end pieces that I do use as samples, and then we're going to have a look at what the inside of this soap looks like. Isn't it so cute? I love the little graham cracker crust that comes all the way up the sides and that nice layer of cream in the bottom and the heaping mounds of the chocolate right on top. Because after all, what is chocolate cream pie without all of that chocolate filling? Delicious. You can see that around the edges here there is a little bit of darkening in that chocolate cream pie, and that's what my cocoa powder does. So it is going to go that darker colour as it cures. Now this soap isn't done yet. I'm going to add a nice healthy dollop of cream right on top of each slice of this chocolate cream pie. And then we're going to add a nice fresh but not very tasty raspberry onto each slice as well. And look at those little raspberries sitting there, so cute. I'm really thrilled with how these raspberries turned out. The definition that I was able to get from that silicone mold is excellent. And it really adds a little bit of colour to this soap. So we're going to finish up with having a look at the final cut of this in some pictures. Look how cute they are. I'm so thrilled with how this turned out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.